Dustin, are we ready? Okay. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and to call this meeting, special call meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for the City of Natchez to order. We will ask everyone, if you would, to please stand for our prayer to be followed by our pledge. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Father, every day is a blessing. We ask you to be with us today as we go about the business of the city. Let everything we do and say be pleasing to you. And Father, let us never forget that we have a responsibility, and that responsibility is always to do our very best for the citizens who look to us. We ask for your safety over all of our employees, your safety and blessings over all of our citizens. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us repeat together our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll ask the clerk to administer the roll call.
Alderwoman Hall. Here. Alderman Frazier.
Here.
Alderwoman Smith.
Here.
Alderwoman Irving.
Here.
Alderman Davis.
Here.
Alderman Dillard.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, all are present and accounted for.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. We will now invite James Johnston to make a report.
Afternoon, Mayor and Board.
Good afternoon.
Three quick items. Duncan Park Tennis Center lighting, receiving a quote bid as part of the city's 2021 recreation bond issue. It is the recommendation of Mr. Wahlberg and staff to accept the low bid of Echo Light Holdings LLC totaling $38,136 for the purchase, delivery, and install of 24 LED sports lighting fixtures for tennis courts 1 through 4.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman Frazier. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
These $38,000, will this be coming out of the Recreation Department's budget, or
2021 recreation bond issue.
this will be bond money?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, have we received bond money?
I believe there's a nice big check in an account.
Yes. The money is there. It is. Any further discussion? We do have a $2 million recreation bond.
You have
Call
$2
the
million
question.
in an account here, and
It is in the account. We did our bond issue earlier this year, and the money is there. And we are starting to get into our recreational renewal program.
I didn't realize, I thought we were going to draw it down as the projects progress, but you've drawn down $2 million, correct?
The
It's a
bond.
The bond is a loan. Is the money in the bank? That's
Yes.
what I'm asking.
Yes.
All $2 million is sitting in an account in the bank. Normally, you would draw them down like a line of credit as you needed it. You drew down $2 million all at once. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Dillon.
Call the question.
The question has been called.
Second.
Second, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Re-roofing of Natchez City Hall Annex 2020 Community Heritage Preservation Grant Program Archives and History. When the original roofing project was bid, the annex was omitted. Staff has received permission from Archives and History to use a portion of the remaining funds to re-roof the annex by a change order with Independent Roofing Solutions for $14,120, with MDH paying 65% and the city 35%. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Irving,
Second.
seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
Just for my curiosity, what is the annex?
Where Jody, Anita, Jerry, and their offices are on the State Street side.
On State Street. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. Further questions, discussion? We'll call for the question.
Call.
Second.
Second.
The question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Johnston.
Final item, staff is requesting a motion for the preparation of state and/or federal broadcasting grant applications in an effort to better serve the downtown, city facilities, and underserved sections of Natchez, with applications possibly going to USDA, State of Mississippi, Department of Commerce, and other agencies.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. This is actually an opportunity for us to get ahead of something very large that's about to happen. Mississippi, we met with the chairman of the Public Service Commission this week, Mr. Dane Maxwell. He is also the Southern District Public Service Chairman, former mayor of Pascagoula. Mr. Maxwell expressed to us that the state of Mississippi is now, because of some very good leadership, good indications, and also the factors involving the rural locations in our state, the need for better broadband, Mississippi is now going to receive on a per capita basis, more federal grant funds for broadband expansion than any other state in America. We, as the city of Natchez, would like to be the first municipality poised to take advantage of some of these grant funds. We have met with a company called NEO, N-E-O. They are a company that over the past year helped to enact broadband coverage for the Dallas County School District. They're working with other districts and other cities, municipalities across America. They met with us yesterday. We've had several meetings. They met with the Utilities Committee yesterday. They also met with Mr. Johnson. The references have been checked. They are actually meeting with Mr. Maxwell next week. And so this is our opportunity. They will be writing grant applications at no cost and at no risk to the city. And the grants that they are pursuing, we are hopeful, could very well be 100% grants that don't require a match. There is no obligation on the city's part other than to let them start writing grants and see what can be achieved. Alderman Frazier, you're the chairman of the Utilities Committee. Did I sum that up pretty well? Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yes, we had a very good discussion about broadband, and the company stated that they are going to provide service much in the low income areas, which is something that is very important to the city of Natchez. In this project, no one is going to be left out. And after the discussion with the gentlemen, I asked them a couple of questions. Why did they choose Mississippi? Because it was rural. And they say, yes, that's one of the reasons. And the mayor also stated that this company, NEO, and also did work in Dallas, Texas. They set up this program in Dallas, Texas. So this company that we are dealing with now is a very reputable company. And we as a board gonna move forward with trying to get broadband in the city of Natchez.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Yes,
And
Alderwoman
I
Smith.
just do want to clarify, this time it's strictly where this motion is to enter into, to try to receive grants, to apply for these grants. Nothing else, not any agreement with any company or anything.
That's correct. That's
Thank you, Mr.
correct.
Mayor.
In the event they're successful getting the grants, we'll enter the agreement stages at that time. Any other discussion, questions?
Well, let me.
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
Like I say, it was a very lengthy discussion in like I said, this company, and they are committed to working with the local colleges and stuff. They're committed to working with Colin and reaching out to Alcorn State. So like I say, this is a win-win situation for the city of Natchez and Adams County. And as say, we also had a discussion, like I say, about I just want to put people, we also had a discussion about the HBCUs, all the HBCUs, and they was committed to that. So that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Any further discussion? We'll call for the question.
Colin,
Second.
We'll now proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. That's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next, Mr. Johnson, I believe that concludes your report. Thank you. The city clerk's report, Ms. McKenzie.
And I see that the tax anticipation loan, Mr. Mayor, was actually put under your report. So will you handle that, or would you like me to go ahead and?
I would like for you to go ahead and handle that.
Okay. So on each of your desks, I put a list of the quotes that were received, the financial institutions that they were received from, and the time and date of when they were received. And also, I will go over those at this
Mr.
time.
Mayor.
Excuse me, just a minute, Ms. McKenzie.
I'd like to recuse myself because I think that my employer, United Mississippi Bank, is one of the
Oh,
bidders
okay,
on this. So
okay,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
all right.
And y'all just please get me outside.
We'll come and fetch you when the discussion's done. Thank you, Alderwoman Smith. Let the record reflect that Alderwoman Smith has recused herself from this discussion due to a potential conflict of interest regarding the banks that have provided information to us regarding the anticipation loan request. All right, Ms. McKenzie.
I don't have a copy.
Question.
Mr. Mayor.
The city clerk's report.
Thank you.
I had an extra one that ended up in my stack.
We apologize.
That's
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you. All right, Ms. McKenzie.
So I'm just going to kind of go down through these. We received quotes from Concordia Bank and Trust, Delta Bank, Home Bank, and United Mississippi Bank. We'll start with Concordia Bank and Trust, gave us a rate of 1.39%. Delta Bank at 1.49%, Home Bank at 2.96%, and United Mississippi Bank at 2.05%. And again, this is for the budgeted $1 million tax anticipation loan, which will mature on March 15th of 2022. I'm sorry, there was a typo on this. It says the 31st.
March 15th. Okay.
Yes.
All right. We do this generally every year just to make sure that we can meet the obligations waiting on the taxes to come in on property taxes, which occurs in the first quarter of the next year. Last year we didn't do this, but I don't know. Just coming in, Ms. McKenzie has recommended that we do this just to be sure that we don't have any issues between now and the spring. And so I think we have some very good rates. We appreciate all the local banks. It appears, however, that Concordia is the most competitive bid. I will entertain a motion that we would place our tax anticipation loan with Concordia.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Any discussion?
Can we amend that a motion to include approval of the resolution that's in your packet?
And the motion will also include approval of the resolution authorizing the transaction. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? We will call for the question. The question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Ms. McKenzie, do you have further business?
Yes, just a couple of items. So now that we have the tax
Well, let's-
anticipation.
Ask Alderwoman Smith to return then. Okay. A little later. Tell her. We're moving faster than we thought. I'll text you. You can. Tell her come on if she's ready. All right, thank you. Alderwoman Smith, we just took action, and the low bidding bank being Concordia Bank at 1.39%, was unanimously selected as the bank for this tax anticipation loan. Ms. McKenzie, you had other business?
Yes, sir, just a couple of items. Now that we've, made a decision, we'll move forward with the tax anticipation loan. Don't know that we are scheduled to meet again prior to that being in place. So I would like to request authorization to draw $750,000 from the budgeted tax anticipation loan once all of that paperwork is complete.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Dillard, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion? We'll call for the question.
Called.
Second.
The question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Okay.
Any further business?
And then would like to request retroactive approval of the following interfund loans. A loan in the amount of $600,000 from the casino annual lease fund to the general fund. And that is to be repaid once the funds are drawn down against the tax anticipation loan. This was to cover docket and payroll expenses. And also a interfund loan from the general fund to capital improvements fund in the amount of $300,000, which was to cover docket expenses and will be repaid once the reimbursements, which have already been submitted for, have been received.
So moved.
Okay. Alderman Dillard has made the motion, seconded by Alderman Davis. And the capital improvement fund, I will say some of that is grant work and that. And
Correct. So
those
this
reimbursements are expected.
Right, those docket expenses were actually for the Gloucester Court
Mhm.
project. And so we have already submitted for those reimbursements. They've just not yet been received.
Mhm. Thank you. We really appreciate your getting all of this squared away for us, Ms. McKenzie.
Absolutely.
We've had a lot going on with these NRCS projects and, oh my goodness, and the grants that we manage and deal with. Thank you for that. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
And I had spoken with the city clerk about this, but will you prepare a running schedule of interfund loans so that it can be submitted in
Absolutely.
the monthly time of our budget presentation? Which loans have been interfund, from which loans to which loans, and then the fact that if they're repaid, so that we can keep a running total of it. Otherwise, we'll forget who we borrowed money from and for
Sure.
what reason.
Absolutely.
Mr.
I've
Mayor.
actually already started preparing that spreadsheet moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Alderman Dillard, I really appreciate you bringing that point up. Also, Ms. McKenzie, I really want to just thank you for your documentation already, the reports that you're providing to us. We're
Absolutely.
noticing that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? I will, I believe we,
On that-
Wait,
on that
didn't we-
motion. Well, that was still, yeah.
yeah, we didn't
Comments
actually,
on the motion. We haven't.
we haven't voted on that motion yet. Yeah, I'm trying to keep everybody straight here. It's been a week. We will call for the question. All right, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item, Ms.
Okay.
McKenzie.
Last item that I've got today is requesting retroactive approval of a transfer. Make sure that y'all understand transfer, not a loan, in the amount of $5,000 from the general fund to the visitor center fund. And that was to help cover final payroll expenses, et cetera. And we may be looking at additional funds being transferred, but at this time, 5,000 is what was required.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Smith.
And this was the last week for
Yes.
that, correct?
Yes, we had carried the visitor center a little longer than anticipated. That period has now ended, effective November 30th. And we did make a visit to thank the employees for their service to the city. As of December 1st, the city desk is no longer the city desk. It is now leased to a company owned by Warren Ruther. and he is getting it set up and will be taking over all ticket sales activities moving forward for the National Park Service at the Visitor Center. Also, just a point of clarification, we continue to get calls about the Visitor Center. The Visitor Center was transferred by the last administration to the federal government. The keys were handed over by Darrell Grinnell to Kathleen Bond on July 23rd, one day before this administration took office. The Visitor Center is no longer the property of the city, but we do enjoy a very good relationship with Ms. Kathleen Bond and with the Park Service, and we'll continue to work with the federal government in any way we can.
Call for question.
Second.
All right, the question's been called. We will proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie. The mayor's report, discussion of salary issues for Public Works. We actually are going to, some of these fell under my report just because we were trying to get the agenda done, but it really is Mr. Dollar. This is Mr. Dollar's recommendation on behalf of his employees. I'd like to recognize at this time, Mr. Dollar.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Board.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Last several meetings, we have kind of discussed briefly, looking at, talking about issues that we've been facing in the Public Works Department in regards to wages and salaries, whether it be with our current employees or, retaining them or actually hiring new employees. So with that, the board had asked me to look into several other options and some things that we could do. So it did reach out to several other cities, looked at some of their different wages and salaries based on their positions, got those and provided those back to the street committee, along with a recommendation of what we could do for our current employees adjustment wise, which would enable us to raise our starting pays to hopefully make it better, more attractive to new individuals that look to come on to the city of Natchez within the Public Works Department. And so with that, I provided those numbers yesterday to Ms. Patterson. I think she provided those numbers to you all board members as well.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dollar. Yes,
Yes, I do.
Alderwoman Hall.
Yes, sir. I do understand that several months ago, we did state we were not going to approve any raises until the second quarter of this new fiscal year. However, this is a dire situation. Mr. Dollar is now, I think, down 7 positions. He's trying to
That's correct.
retain the men he has. So I move that we provide for these raises for Public Works employees.
I would like to, before we get there, and the motion's been made, but we need to include the 3 golf. I really believe if
sorry.
we're going to increase these, we have a problem also with laborers at the golf course that have been there for so long, and I would suggest that we add those 3 laborers as well.
I'll amend my motion to add those 3.
A motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Alderwoman Irving, we did have the street committee meeting yesterday. You are the chair of that committee. Would you like to provide a report and give more detail?
Yes, sir. On yesterday, we did meet, and thank you, Mr. Dahl. I want to begin with you thanking for over the last several months, you have provided information expressing the dire need to increase the salaries of the employees and in those positions that you're trying to hire for. And so we did get, they will be receiving an increase. Those employees that were 5 years or more that have been with the city, they will get an increase. Those that are less than 5 years, they will get an increase. Ms. Mayor, am I allowed to give a dollar amount?
Yes.
Okay, so those that are 5 years or more will receive an increase of $1.50 an hour increase per hour. Those that have been there 5 years or less will receive $1 per hour increase. And so after, I think that would be an incentive that would increase the morale of the department. It would also be more attractive to retain and recruit employees that are interested in working with our Public Works Department. I also want to thank the street committee, which includes Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Sarah Carter Smith. The mayor was at our meeting. We had a great meeting, and thank the board for approving it to increase the quality of life of those employees that are there in that department. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Alderwoman Smith.
I just want to add one thing, and I think that Mr. Dollar needs to be commended for doing a lot of homework on this, because if you're too swift to do something, it cannot be equitable to the people that have been there for a long time versus the people that are just beginning and all that. So he, looked at Adams County, how they've recently done this, as well as other cities that you've mentioned. And I feel like it's a fair, a positive way to do this. So thank you for that.
I would like to point out, we discussed about the funds. We do have the ability to use a portion of our ARP funds for this purpose, using our lost revenue portion of city funds to account for that portion of ARP funds that would be needed. Those are funds available to us through the American Rescue Plan. Now, whether or not we'll actually do that, we're going to let the city clerk continue to watch how things go, because we do have 7 vacant positions. That has resulted in a surplus in Mr. Dollar's payroll budget. So we're going to see how that goes. Then if we see that we have a shortfall, we can look to the ARP funds for that, but we're not going to look at it yet. The other thing is, we will look at equipment purchases, but probably not until the spring, unless something is just of a dire situation. We are making a statement here. We value our people over equipment. What good is it to have equipment if you don't have the manpower to work it? I do want to ask this question. If we have an individual who is just 2 or 3 months shy of their 5-year, let's say, or 6 months or a year, when they hit that 5-year, will they then get that extra 50%?
Well, I think that would certainly be something for the board.
Board,
Yeah. to
I
make-
believe, Alderwoman
for the board to
Hall,
make
would
that
you
decision.
include that in your motion, that this pay structure will apply, and will also, that extra 50 cents will kick in whenever they hit that 5 years? I think it would be unfair to give $1.50 to someone who's been there 5 years and only $1 to someone who's been there 4 years or 4 years and a half. So I think we need to have some step philosophy. Not saying that we're going to have step increases, but as it relates to this salary package, because we are setting a reward for those who hit 5 years, they're getting more than those who are less than 5 years.
Mr. Mayor, may we make it specific? I mean, what?
Yeah, that was my next
Are you-
question.
Yeah, when?
Yes.
is the
I mean, because,
cutoff?
Yes.
When
and
is
the
the
only reason I
cutoff?
asked that, just so that
Right,
I'll know,
because,
so that we can make sure we set it up in the system correctly.
I would
Right.
say
We've got
we
employees
can
that-
always revisit this next budget cycle, but I would say, I know for a fact that we have a very valued worker that is going to hit his 5 years in February. And we're just so close to it.
Mr. Mayor,
One at a time.
So Alderman Frazier and then Alderwoman Irvin.
I think if we do that, I don't know, if we do that, it should be on the anniversary date that they're hired.
You're right. Oh, yes. Well, he would not get it now,
Yeah.
but in February, he would get that
Yeah,
50
The
cent.
anniversary date.
That's a good point. I just want to throw it out because that situation is already developed.
Are you including the men in golf
Yes,
department as well
yes.
in that motion?
Well,
To allow
yeah,
them?
I was going to ask you to amend your motion to include that this would, anyone hitting, we could say anyone hitting their 5 years
Within 6 months.
within the next budget, within this current budget year.
Is this specific to public works and golf?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
We've
asking.
already established
I just want to be sure.
that your
where we
motion
are.
applies to the 3 laborers
Yes.
at golf.
Okay, that's
So
why
the
we're
only-
asking
And
for
so I'd like
specifics.
the motion to be amended as a friendly amendment, that anyone hitting their 5 years would be given that extra 50 cents as long, on the anniversary date, as long as they hit that 5 years within the next We can-
budget year.
Within this budget
this
year.
So
budget year.
9/30/2022.
That's right. And
That
then
was my
we'll
understanding.
reevaluate the salaries at that time when we're preparing the new budget. Does that make sense?
Madam Clerk, I'll amend my
Yeah.
motion.
It does.
Okay. And Alderwoman Irving, you have seconded, so you're
Yes.
fine with that
Uh-huh.
amendment? Okay.
Absolutely. It does.
I hope that's not as clear as mud. Mr. Callaway?
Just want to make sure the record is clear, Mr. Mayor. The motion pertains to the schedule that has been handed to the board. I'd ask that you include in your motion that we adopt this schedule and
Okay.
attach it as an exhibit to our minutes.
All right. With the 3 laborers at golf added at the laborer position, and I believe they are the laborer 1 position, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
We'll clarify that, but let them be the 3 added at their specific position. And then that anyone reaching their 5 years between now and the end of this budget year.
Mr. Mayor, would you restate the motion entirely?
Okay.
We'll be
So the
clear.
motion is that we provide immediate pay raises to the Public Works Department according to the schedule provided.
Mhm.
And that we include 3 full-time labor positions serving at the golf course. And that we also include a provision for any employee reaching 5 years in service between now and 9/30/22 to be stepped up 50 cents upon their anniversary date. Okay? All right, further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
First of all, I mean, having been the one that made the motion, deferring any considerations for increases in compensation to our employees. I feel that I can talk on that. And the thing to distinguish, I'd like to make to this board is that we need to look at, and these have become almost essential workers, but the first thing you need to look at is that you have 2 types of employment with the city, and it can be salaried or be hourly. And there's a difference in that, and there's an exemption and a non-exemption. I think what we're seeing, not only in this department, in this city, in this country right now, is that the essential workers are our hourly workers. So I want it to be understood, even though in this agenda, it kept talking about salaries. We're not talking about salaries. I think what we're talking about is increases in wages for
Yes.
contracts for employment. The other thing that we have to understand is that I see this as a adjustment to our schedule of rate of pay due to the labor demands. This country's experienced the reality that labor has demanded more for its services. And just as the price of gas could go up one year or electricity could go up one year, in this case, it is now labor. So the point being is that a common laborer may have made $8.25 an hour. Now they're at a point where they can command more than that. So I see this more as instead of a pay raise, but an adjustment to the rates for which we are offering our hourly employees to, be employed with the city of Natchez for these services. So anyhow, that's just the distinction I want to make. And the ones that are vacant, we may see that we have to look at this again to be able to fill some of these positions.
Yeah, and that's,
$1 may not get you a commercial driver's license, heavy equipment operator. We're going to have to adjust our rates to fit the market demands, in short. So, I don't mean to be nitpicking about the words that we're using, but I think it makes a difference. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you,
and I
Alderman
would
Dillard.
like to just touch
Yes, Justin.
briefly on that, and we kind of discussed that briefly yesterday. And so you were all right on track with what you're saying. Yes, being the raises that were given, the adjustments that were made to these, depending on your years of service here, was kind of how we were able to look at these jobs and actually move them based on that, without trying to move some of these positions over something that somebody's already currently making there. So I do think this is going to be a help, certainly, with that, but I do agree with you, and I see these markets every single day on the private and public side. And I will tell you that I'm not going to sit here and tell you that these rates are going to fix your problem overnight, but certainly I do think they are a step in the right direction.
One more question to Mr.
Yes,
Justin
Alderman
is
Dillon.
that this list that's been provided, or I'm looking at these, are these hourly employees or some of these salaried employees?
They're all hourly.
They're all hourly.
Every
Okay,
position
that's
is
the
hourly.
distinction that I'm looking at. And I think, Mr. Mayor, as we go forward with our looking at how we compensate those that are employed with the city, for the salaried employees, I think it should be a review of their performance of their department. In other words, if you're a department head, how well have you managed your department and your budget? And I think that's how you get to look at an increase in salary. It's not just across the board. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Smith?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. When we orient new employees, I would like, and I think we need to do this for our current employees as well, orient them on the PERS and the benefit of PERS and what that means for them. Because I think that unfortunately is a fact. The city pays way more for their employees because of what we have to pay for PERS for every employee. So I think there needs to be a definite understanding on their end that you are trading off something when you do come to work for a government entity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I know now may not necessarily be the time, but we do have those discussions with
Good.
that. And you and I have had
Yes.
hour-long discussions in regards to this. And so I do agree with you that that is a benefit to our employees. But what I will say in my time here, what you find when you have employees making $10, $11 an hour is that at the end of the week, they've got a house note to pay.
No, I know that. You
They've
know
got,
that.
they've got food. So those are the type things. So to them at that point, what they see more is what do I get at the end of the week versus that. And I know
Totally
we even,
get it. We
even
all
just-
do. I
right.
look at my own paycheck that way. But what we have to know is that the taxpayers have to pay that money for them. It's a requirement by the state of Mississippi. So it's right now our hands are tied on to some extent.
I think she's.
I mean, there
think
are places that are becoming broke because of this. And, you know, it's hard to pay PERS. It's hard for our taxpayers to have to.
Because
burden
when
them.
you actually figure in this, and I did this a few years ago for every employee, because we were having a big push that came back and said, well, I only make $11 an hour. And true enough, they do. Okay, at the end of the day. But when you look at what it actually cost the city of Natchez for this employee, and I can go back and pull that, but I think it was around $16.50, $17 an hour is what they were actually paying. So at these wages, if you look at that compared to what it actually cost, it is, I think it's certainly, close to where we need to be. But at the end of the day, I do say that some of those other things, but
Absolutely.
I understand your point because I brought this out and showed this, and I did it for every employee and brought them in one-on-one. So, okay,
Yes.
here's what you make currently and with all your benefits, here's what that equates to what it actually costs the city today. So if you were in a private sector and you were making $18 an hour, you would make identical to what the city's paying you today. It's just in a different form.
Right, because we would literally pay them the 16
would
if
pay them the
if that's
same
what they'd
thing.
rather instead of PERS, but we just don't have a
And we've
choice.
had those discussions about that as well.
you can
Thank you.
1099 them, I'll pay you $20. And you can pay your insurance, you can pay your PERS, you can do all of your tax deductions. You won't get any holidays. You don't have to worry about it. You work through all those, nor are you going to accrue any vacation time.
Right.
You know, all that stuff has to be pointed out.
It does.
But I do
Yeah.
agree.
Alderwoman Irving?
I just want to say I do agree with Alderwoman Sarah Carter Smith that they do need orientation on it.
Well, copy that now. I know
Okay.
discussion.
The question has been called. Second.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you. One other thing, when we wrap it up, I will say just in brief, when I'm looking through this, there's only going to be 2 employees that will meet that threshold, one in the 6th month and one in the 8th month of the coming year,
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
based on our date of hire and the rates that what we have here.
That's good information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next item, discussion of revision to employee handbook for the city of Natchez. Y'all, this is something that has been needed for a long time. The last time our employee handbook was revised was in the mid 2000s, 2006 or 8. I think it was
I think it
6.
was 6.
I think it was 2006.
Are we still in?
And obviously, there have been a lot of changes since then. We've been very fortunate to have someone who's been working with the city just on a hourly basis on some various projects. And someone with a lot of background, a PhD, very well qualified, who really just came to us and said, let me help you and let me help Ms. Deason. We said, okay. And so over the last few weeks, we have been able to make a comparison of our handbook to some other handbooks that are much newer throughout the state. We have been able to come up with a revised handbook draft. It's literally, we just got another version at midnight last night. And so we haven't had a chance. Have we had a chance to make any copies?
Yes.
Yes.
We have of that version? Okay. We want to provide, I believe we've already sent a PDF copy to everyone electronically. We will gladly provide a printed copy to any alderperson who requests one. We're not saying at all that this is anything but a first draft. It's the first time any of us has had a chance to look at it. I don't think our city attorneys even had a chance to look at it. But what we do know is that the Mississippi State University Stennis Institute of Government provides a great resource for cities throughout the state in items like this. Today, we would just simply like to get a motion that would allow us to convey this draft to the Stennis Institute for their review. And today would also begin the process of each alderperson reviewing it, department directors reviewing it, our city attorney reviewing it, and then at some point in the near future, hopefully having some very good conversations. I know one of the very first questions going to be asked is, could we see highlights of what's different? That is proven to be almost impossible because it's just such a vast document. And some of the passages in the old one were so obsolete. I can tell you that we've looked around the state at cities comparable to Natchez, and so the most up-to-date language is what's in there. But obviously, a lot of work still has to be done. The Institute of Government will help us. I actually got that idea from Alderman Dillard a couple weeks ago. I think it's a good idea. So I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. if I could.
Yes, Alderman Dillard and then Alderman Frazier. Alderman Dillard first.
Yeah, of course, what I'm going to say makes sense, but this becomes part of the contract for employment between the city and the Natchez. It is a contract. There are terms and conditions and there are things in there and legal things and financials and all other things. But you have to look at it. It's not just, show up to work on time and you get your birthday off or whatever. And it needs to be looked at in that light. As we were just having these other discussions, there's a difference between a salaried employee and an hourly employee, and an exempt employee and a non-exempt employee. So I commend you for taking up this task, and I hope that we haven't done it in the past, but I hope that the Stennis can be of value to the city. I expect that they are, but without just a complete wholesale, rewriting of the thing. And we need to look at it better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Frazier?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Like I said, we just got this draft, and I'm like the rest of the board. I think we should, I don't think we're gonna vote on it today or anything.
Oh, no.
But I just glancing through it not too long ago, and just glancing, I see some very interesting things here. And I think this gonna, as you said, this gonna be very helpful to the city of Natchez. And as Alderman Dillon said, we're gonna have to be careful. And when we look at this and do this, simply because the reason, like he said, it's gonna be a contract. And we have people that's in the city and throughout this county that look at this and look at this manual, and they'll try to manipulate it. So we're gonna have to do along with the attorney. All of us gonna have to get together and review this very, very carefully, because like I say, this is serious. this is something serious that we are doing.
Yes.
This is nothing that we're gonna be throwing together. This is a future document that will probably last longer than some of us gonna be.
That's
Well, so what we are doing with this docket today is we're planning for the future of the city of Natchez. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier.
Call for the question.
The question has
Second.
been called. Second, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Burke, if you would work with Ms. Deason in getting this to the proper person at the Citizen Institute of Government and enlist the help also of our municipal league, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Our next item, this is a carryover really from our joint meeting we had the other day. We approved the hire of Ms. Tawana Williams. We now today need to approve the agreement. Everyone has had a few days to look over the agreement. Mr. Callaway, I know you're very familiar with the agreement because you helped write the agreement. At this time, before we even have discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
The resolution.
The resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman Davis. Now, discussion on the agreement, on this resolution.
Yes,
Resolution.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
Discussion is, I think we should just go and move forward. And I think everyone has already read this agreement, and I think we just should go ahead on and move forward on voting on.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Frazier. Further discussion? Yeah.
As we go forward, the few things that I've gotten through reading it again twice is that, right now we're agreeing that we can do this interlocal thing between the city and the county and the school. And when you read through this language, it keeps talking about acquisition of lands and building facilities and staffing these programs. Now, my only question is, and I tried to look up the RETA and to try to find out more about that, but are you anticipating any in the near future of taking out bonds to begin this initiation of building these facilities? Because if you are, I've got some more questions. So
I am not, but Alderman Frazier.
We discussed it, but now I understand what you're saying. They're trying to get it, but we're gonna do that in the second phase. So we're just entering the first phase now. So there's gonna be more discussions on what we need to do. So right now, we're just entering the first phase.
And one other more question, Mr. Mayor, isn't there a timeline that we're looking at on this, that we need to go ahead and move forward on this?
Yes, the county is taking this up Monday, the school board Tuesday, and the reason for this speed is we technically can't allow her to start until this has been approved by the Mississippi Development Authority and also the Mississippi Attorney General. We are starting those discussions, and we hope that by Tuesday, we'll be able to transfer the final agreement to those two agencies for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And the reason for that, we have a grant deadline in January, and we're trying to move quickly so we can apply for a major workforce development grant.
Workforce development, is that the name of the grant, the workforce development
It
grant?
is a workforce development grant under the Department of Economic Development, the federal department, and the EDA, and it's through the Commerce Department.
The estimated amount of that grant?
That grant is a minimum of 1 million and a maximum of, I believe, 20. I believe it's 20. And that grant can be used for the purchase of equipment, setting up the workforce program, and any number of things. It also allows for in-kind donations to be matches. For instance, the Stecker building could be a match. And so it's a grant that is very lucrative for us, and we really need to act expeditiously.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Call for question.
All right, the
Second.
question has been called. Second,
Second.
we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. The next item that we have a discussion of the issues pertaining to the city-county pool. It was requested by Alderwoman Hall that we place this on the agenda. I will recognize Alderwoman Hall.
Yes, sir. We've had some difficulty completing a contractual agreement to get the heater placed at the pool. So it is my hope that, and I will recommend that Alderman Dillard and you meet with Supervisor Hutchinson and a few members of the Board of Supervisors to discuss the city and the county's relationship with the pool. We have adopted an interlocal agreement. We're not sure where they stand with the interlocal agreement that we did approve on our part. And we have also appointed 3 new members to that new Recreation Commission or Advisory Board, as Alderman Dillard prefers to call it at this point. So as we stated a few months ago, the old Recreation Commission, as it was known in its form, ended September 30th, 2021.
I would like to say, Alderwoman Hall, there are some issues that have been raised, definitely, and we're listening. Issues dealing with condition of some areas there at the pool that have interfered with the completion of the grant project, creating delays and increased costs pertaining to the installation of the heating system, some other upgrades, the pool cover. But I believe really the best way to get to this, like you said, is just to get some of the city and county together with the commissioners and to sort it out. I don't think it needs to be me or President Hutchins. We're both going to be in Washington, D.C. next week lobbying for Natchez, Adams County. I think it could simply be 2 alderpersons and 2 supervisors. The Recreation Committee. It
Our
could be
Recreation
the
Committee, which I am
Recreation
chair,
Committee to meet
Alderwoman
with,
Smith
yeah.
and Alderman Dillard.
And so,
The mayor pro tem.
and the Mayor Pro Tem, that's right. I would, because I do know this has to be sorted out pretty soon in order for the grant to be closed. Mr. Johnson's been concerned about that. Why don't we just suggest that a meeting take place where our Recreation Committee will meet with the supervisors that are chosen to meet, because I think only 2 can meet at one time to avoid a quorum, and then to meet with any of the recreation commissioners that would like to meet, members of that advisory council. I believe it's through communication we can come to the best solution. So that way everyone can meet and have a good communication.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Dillard?
yeah, I certainly agree. And again, I'm being this nitpicky person about these words, but it was my understanding that both the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Aldermen voted to dissolve the Natchez Adams County Recreational Council. And therefore, I can see that if there were any commissioners associated with that, they are no longer in commission of anything that exists.
Yes.
Now, the only reason I'm being particular about the words for an advisory board, and Alderwoman Hall has put that forth, is that those individuals volunteer in the community that have interest or background or expertise in an area that would benefit the operations and maintenance of facilities of the pool. We've made our 3. I think it's time for the supervisors to appoint those 3. If I'm reading the terms of the agreement, if it was 3 and 3, we had some discussion. We wanted an odd number, but it ended up even, and we all agreed that we could work it out. We're fortunate now that we're in the winter season. The activity of the pool is not demanding, but we should sort this stuff out so that these things can go forward. And it seems to me, I don't make it sound like the ball's waiting on the supervisors, but if they'll appoint their 3 and we can finally, formalize this interlocal agreement again over the operations of the pool. Otherwise, if we keep saying commissioners, there's people out there that rings through their head and they go, I'm a commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be there Tuesday at 5:30 because I'm a commissioner. That's not what we're talking about. That commission no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So members of the advisory board under the new interlocal agreement.
There you go. Put the new word in.
The new members under the new interlocal agreement. All right. Thank you, Alderman Dillard. Does the board wish to make a motion to this effect?
We don't need it.
I mean, no, we just, all right, and I think, and I think, I'll be in Washington, but Mr. Burke, Richard, you can help our recreation committee, and supervisors. We'll reach out to President Hutchins and, ask them to work toward getting a meeting established for sometime next week. Okay,
And if it can't be next week, it'll be the week after. because
The week
Some
after.
people may be out of state. or out
okay,
of
as soon
other
as possible.
commitments, As soon as possible,
But recognizing you want all of the parties there.
correct.
Right, that's right. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we go ahead and order up the cleanup that needs to be done for the heater? That just has to be done.
I have a
We
suggestion.
can, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
think
make a suggestion that even if we have to engage the contractor on site and he can go through a change order, $500, whatever it is, to go ahead and get that cleaned up, because that seems to be the stickling point as to who's gonna go out there and clean this up. And, it's such a small thing that, that's a possibility. Public Works is a possibility.
Yes.
It sounds to me it's just plain labor, but I'd like to entertain your thoughts on it as well.
Alderwoman Hall?
I think Mr. Johnson met out there this morning with the contractor and some of the personnel from the county. And I think the county said they were gonna clean it, so we will see if it's been
Okay.
cleaned or not. That is.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
For the
Mayor.
heater.
Thank you. I just want to, an FYI, how late are we in getting the heater installed? Getting this grant closed out? I don't
This has
know.
been going on for several months, Mr. Mayor.
Several months. Because I'd be interested to know how much more money this has incurred for the delay. You just hate to see delays just because, hopefully we'll get it resolved. Alderwoman Irving?
I just want to say that one of the things I think Mr. Johnson did bring to us is delay due to the weather that we had, and then COVID. Some of the employees had contracted.
Yeah.
So that was a delay as to
Okay.
why, because I know it was like late summer when they were just finishing the locker room. I
Yeah.
walk out there in that area and
Right.
just watching them and what they're doing.
Mhm.
I've observed that, and that is some of the reason why it's
Okay.
been delayed.
All right. Thank you, Alderwoman.
Mhm.
All right. With that said, we're going to move on in our discussion. We put this on the agenda yesterday because as we meet with professionals and, for instance, meeting with the commissioner of the Public Service Commission this week, meeting with some other professionals and consultants, what we're finding out is that a historic amount of grant money is being made available in this country. And there are deadlines that are quickly approaching. And some of the application processes for these grants are very involved. It's almost like the federal government is, on one hand, making grant money available, but also, on the other hand, making the application process so cumbersome that it's difficult to get that money and to make sure you're doing it correctly. Well, we have found that there are more and more grants available for workforce development, even beyond the one that we just talked about. And we're also finding out that there are grants available for medical economic development. The way this came about is we've actually been discussing with the Horn Group and Natchez Inc., our Med Natchez plan. We're getting very close to having a draft for everyone to review of a very lengthy document, medical economic development for Natchez. And it is a medical plan going forward that would allow us to have the strategy for building a healthcare hub here in Natchez. One of the problems that we have when we do this is it's one thing to get a study done. It's going to be great to have the plan, but then you need someone to implement the plan. Well, we're finding out that there are medical grants out there that would allow us to then get the funds to bring in the professional to help implement the plan. So we had quite a discussion yesterday where we went through a lot of the strategy that cities need to be using to get these grants. And Mr. Johnston was there, our grant writer, We also had with us a medical consultant who works also with Baton Rouge General Hospital, Jessica Canning. She was there. And we also had at the meeting a grant writer with nearly 20 years service, a lady we just literally met yesterday, but has come extremely highly recommended, Ms. Crystal Matthews, who has actually done a good bit of work for Baton Rouge General Hospital in some medical grants. This opened up an opportunity to meet with Ms. Robbie Cade, along with Ms. Tawana Williams. We met with Tawana Williams to discuss workforce development grants that are out there, and the fact that with a deadline, we found out the deadline isn't January 22nd, it's January 26th. But with a grant, there are 50 of these grants available in the whole country. The minimum, $1 million. And we only have until January 26th. We met with Ms. Williams yesterday. We said, what if we brought in some outside help to just really make sure we got to the level we need to make sure this grant worked? And then we had an opportunity to talk to Robbie Cade Furge about an idea she has that would create a small business incubator. And so we discussed this with the grant experts. There are potentially some real good grants out there for that. We have the ARP funds. We have the ability to use a very clever strategy. And that is that you would use a very small amount of those ARP funds to leverage to get a lot more money. And you would only use a small portion, and you would use it under the lost revenue definition. And the idea being that we really put a bold effort over the next couple months to get millions of dollars for Natchez. To start with, let's have Ms. Robbie Cade Furge, Pastor Robbie, as I love to call her, to come and briefly share a presentation about the Small Business Incubator. And this, yes, Alderman Hall.
Before,
Oh, yes, it is. This is workforce development, grant possibilities. The Small Business Incubator is part of workforce
Yes.
development.
Before you do that, would
Yes,
you like
Alderman
to
Hall.
speak to Mr. Johnston about what we just discussed? He's on the phone. I didn't know. Or
We can
just-
do that at the end of the meeting. Yeah, thank you. So this agenda item is a broad agenda item to discuss grant possibilities for medical economic development and workforce development. And this is hot off the press. And so, Pastor Robbie, it's good to see you.
Good to see y'all.
And I know you said you're going to give, what is it called? The pitch perfect?
I got 4 minutes.
I learned a new term yesterday. But with the information we're getting, time is of essence, and there literally are millions of dollars of grants out there. Pastor Robbie?
All right. Well, greetings to all of you. I wanted to come, well, thank you for allowing me to be here today. And you all are doing a great job for our city. So for the past 5 years, I created an organization called the Hub Foundation, where we focus on small business development and economic development as well. And so we have a board, and for the last 5 years, we've done a lot of events, even around this city and other places, where we've created opportunities for small business owners. And I think I sent Dustin, maybe, I don't know, let me see. So we've done like the mix and mingle and jingle, trying to get business owners to collab a little bit. We did that at Regions Bank before it was sold. We did a business and breakfast boot camp as well. We brought in someone from the state to kind of train a lot of the small business owners here. We did a womanpreneur event because women are on the rise in entrepreneurship. So we wanted to make sure that they got the exposure. And we also, one of the other ones is a vision board party that we do, that we like to give small business owners a opportunity to create a goal for the year. Well, I've been looking for property for a very long time in a way to establish this. So in a recent conversation with Mr. Jimmy Smith and Mr. Vidal Davis, who now actually own the building of 500 Main Street, where Home Bank is actually located, being that they're both entrepreneurial, having a conversation with them, it was the perfect place for a small business incubator. And so also a perfect space for a co-working space, which you see the picture that is there. Co-working spaces have become the new norm. Those are for people who are remote workers, leaders, innovators, creative thinkers. They go, they take their computers, they plug up, they sit, because the best thing is to be in an environment where work is being done. I know a lot of us have home offices and things of that sort, but you get nothing done at the house. So we want to make sure that people come out of the house and plug in and do what they need to do. So we decided to name this place The Vault, which is perfect because it's a bank building, and we want to kind of call it The Vault. Well, the bank will still occupy the middle part, but the second floor, the top floor where offices are, will be where our small businesses are. And in order to qualify for the small business incubator, your business has to be within 4 years or less of being created. And so what we want to do is create a pipeline of entrepreneurs through training, resources, and opportunity. And in meeting with the young ladies on yesterday, there's so many different grants out there: technology grants, there are rural development grants, there are leadership training grants. And one of the successes that my husband and I have had with our 9 businesses is the fact that we have been educated. And a lot of times people just don't know. They don't know where the money is. They don't know how to get established. They don't know how to apply for grants. They don't know how to develop to get a 501c3. So our goal is my whole focus is education. With a background in education, that's my desire. So our objectives are here. We want to provide a collaborative work environment for entrepreneurs, creatives, professionals. We want to educate and empower our youth. So in a conversation with the Natchez Adams School District, our goal is to set up entrepreneurial hubs in every school so we can catch our children early. So if they have a desire to be small business owners, they can learn at an early age, they can get the information, and then they can go on to be successful in small business. We want to create that incubation space. And incubation means you don't stay long. We can't keep them there for 5-10 years. We train them for 3 years, and then boom, we got to move in our next group of people. What incubators do, they assist, go back for me. They assist companies, there we go, assist companies that may be in the earlier process. So what we want to do is help them with marketing and graphic designs. We want to show them how to secure government contracts. We want to talk about how to be a minority-owned business. There's so much money for minority-owned businesses, but a lot of people don't even know how to get it, and they don't even know how to apply to be a certified minority or owned business. We want to talk about competitive research. As I was sharing yesterday, it's amazing because a lot of people don't even do a market analysis. That's how you end up with 15 boutiques on one block, because somebody has a great idea that I want to sell clothes, but they didn't analyze the area enough to see whether or not do I need to put my clothes there. So we want to teach them how to be in the right place to make the great amount of money. All right, then we're gonna go to, we wanna help them with what I'm doing now, Pitch Perfect, being able to stand before people and say, this is what I wanna do. I wanna educate, I wanna empower, I wanna enlighten, I wanna expose people to greater opportunities and be able to sell it. And we also wanna prepare them to establish relationships with financial institutions. My godparents opened a bank in Omaha, Nebraska, and I had the opportunity to sit in a sister session where a guy, he came in and he wanted $75,000 for his lawn care business. Well, it wasn't a whole lot of money he was asking for, but when the question came to him, how much, the question was the down payment. Well, your credit is good. We got the down payment. You can do the down payment. He was like, I don't have that kind of money. They said, well, do you have collateral? He said, I don't know what that is. And so I just leaned over to him. I said, do you have any property? You got any land? He was like, oh yeah, I got 100+ acres. And I was like, you have collateral. So we want to even teach people even the language when they're going into banking institutions, so they'll be able to get the money, get approved, and qualify. All right. And so we also want to offer team building, agile development. We want to talk about a company culture. I'm a hometown girl. I'm a family person. So even when you come to Rolling River, when you walk through the door, somebody's going to be in the back saying, hey, welcome to the river. That's our culture. We're not, we're just a hometown, small town, family oriented place. So we want to teach them about fundraising, networking, scalability, marketing, and elevator pitching. And what is the outcome we want to see at the vault. We want to see occupants. We want to give them exposure to programs and information. We want to see companies created. We want to see new products launched. We want new entrepreneurs trained. We want to see job creation, revenue generated. We want minority businesses established. We want companies to be funded. We want quarter-to-quarter growth, dream creation. We want to increase professionalism. And of course, you all know that even through workforce development, they're doing some training to get people to be more professional, be more, be a little bit more intact. And so we want to do the same thing with small businesses, because no matter how great your product is, if your services are bad, we will not return and you will not get our money. So we want to do that. So here are our operational needs: build out, furniture, paint, supplies. I don't know if you ever seen the basement, because we're going to utilize the second floor and the basement. But if you haven't seen the basement, it's going to need a little bit more work to get up and going. Operating costs, insurance, the facility lease, personnel, marketing, things of that sort, which is our website will be included. Equipment, which is computer software, all of those different things, and our programming costs, because our focus is education, is presenters and materials, supplies, and program trainings. So I'm here today to ask of you all if the city would be a partner with the Hub Foundation in funding of $50,000. And here is our breakdown. The breakdown is administrative. We're going to put 15% of that towards administrative. 20% of that is going to go towards facility usage and the lease. 30% is going to go towards educational program and services. 15% is going to go to technology and marketing. 10% will go towards incubator supplies, and the other 10% renovations, labor and supplies, and that equals our total cost of $50,000. Our total dependency is not on this particular funding. We are going after grants. We've already applied for 4 grants thus far. We also have other partners who are interested in being a partner in helping these small businesses get established, and we're going to do quite a bit of fundraising as well. So I wanted to share that with you guys to see if we can become partners together. And as you all know, this is not anything new. I finally have a space to do what we've been doing. So all of these different events that Dustin is showing you now, we've done them at the community center, the convention center. We've been to the NAPAC building. We've been to the Fry building. We've had them at Regions Bank building. We've been all around Natchez for the last 5 or 6 years. And so now there's a space for us to do all the training that we so desire to do.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Robbie.
Did I do good?
You
Yes,
did.
you did.
I have 4
I
minutes.
think you did very well. Very well. As we look at workforce development, I think really the big deal is this: we have got to have opportunity, and the opportunity comes when we have a trained workforce. And sometimes the greatest business starts with just a person or two. And an incubator is a great way to take entrepreneurs in our area who would like to do something and really cultivate an atmosphere for them to do it. This is being successfully done in Tupelo. Would you share your knowledge? I know that's where you've
Yes.
been inspired to
So-
do this in Natchez.
Tupelo has the Renaissance Center for Ideas. It's a three-level, $5.2 million facility. It houses about 70 to 78 small businesses. Also has a co-working space and a museum, and it also has a community kitchen as well, and also a mechanic shop. And so a lot of the small businesses in Tupelo, which is also a high tour area due to Elvis, a lot of people are training in that place, and then they're moving out and doing great things. So that's one of the things that inspire me. And there are only 6 incubators in the entire state of Mississippi.
So we have an opportunity, Brian. Mr. Callaway?
Is the city of Tupelo a partner in the incubator in Tupelo?
Yes, sir.
And who runs, Mr. Mayor? Who runs
Yes,
the incubator in
Alderman
Tupelo? Who runs the incubator in Tupelo?
The Chamber of Commerce, actually.
I'm just not gonna be ready to vote on this today.
Oh, no.
Okay.
We're
I
not.
Definitely am.
This
think
is
it's
what
great.
I want to, this is our first look. This is what I want to propose. We have provided you a service agreement. We just literally got today from a consultant we met with yesterday, as I said, with Elite Program Specialist Crystal Matthews. Okay, this consultant has shared with us the fact that there are millions of grants available, and she comes highly recommended. And we were introduced to her by Jessica Canning. If you look on a reference sheet, there's so many references on the back. And so we looked there, and Ms. Jessica Canning is an individual who is amazing when it comes to healthcare, medical, and she's the lady I told you works with Baton Rouge General Hospital. And she introduced us. The point being is there are millions in grants there, but as I said earlier, you've got to really be aggressive, have professional help to go for the grants. Now, in my discussions with Pastor Robbie, I think the vault is a great idea. I think it's a great idea and a way for us to get an incubator started. But rather than invest $50,000 from ARP funds, wouldn't it be a smarter investment for us to work through a grant consultant to get major grant funds and pay a very small portion of ARP funds on that? Also looking at other grant opportunities. For instance, I believe that Ms. Williams, who is our new hire for workforce development, I believe that we need to do all we can to make sure she's successful in getting that grant. And I believe that bringing in some outside services to help her might be good. This is just a first meeting discussion, but I felt like since we had a special call meeting, it was a good time for us to start discussing it. We've got to discuss this. Otherwise, Natchez is going to miss out on millions and millions of dollars. We've got to get aggressive.
Except this isn't
Okay.
millions of dollars.
No.
This is the 50,000.
This is, oh, well,
So it's a little
50,000 from us. I'm saying rather than do the 50, I'm saying help them with grants, and let's go for a lot more
And
than
just
50.
The entity of it, because I know Natchez Inc. has done the incubator, small business incubator too, and I don't know how active it is now. I used to be on that board, but I don't think that they're actively doing that.
Yeah,
But
they are.
just, I do think discussion has to where the entity belongs,
Mhm.
and who it falls under. So I don't know. But
Mr.
anyway,
Mayor.
we can talk about
Yes,
it.
Alderwoman Hall.
I've just had a discussion with Ms. Kate Furge on the vault, and I'm very impressed with what she has presented, and also with her business acumen. She is an entrepreneur with many businesses, she and her husband, and I think she's more than qualified to be her own incubator for this project. But I do think we need to have more board discussion as to how we fund it. But I'm very impressed with this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes,
I want-
Alderwoman Irving and then Alderman Frazier.
Thank you. I just want to
Yes,
say we did have a discussion about the vault as well. And just to take the tour through the building so you can actually see when you go in there, it's almost as if you feel absolutely everything you can envision in that building, what can happen, with the makeup of the people in the building, and you actually see this come to fruition. And so having that conversation, thank you with our Natchez public school system going there, because I shared a few things with you about
Yes, ma'am.
youth and entrepreneurship and their interests that they have, and to know that you're going to make that a part of the incubator. That's a wonderful idea. And I'm very supportive of what you're trying to do. The vault.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Alderman
for sharing
Frazier?
this information with the board.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to say, this is nothing new to me. I had a Sunday dinner with Ms. Cage, and she brought this to my attention. She sat down and explained it to me. I also think this is a very good idea too. We have now Ms. Tawana Williams on board now, and we have two brilliant young ladies now who have the skill and knowledge of writing grants who can help the city. If there's any way possible that we can get this off the ground and running, I would love to do so, because I feel that Miss Cade, after talking to her future, and she's planning for the future. She's planning for the future for Natchez, her hometown. And she always stated to me, I love Natchez. She said, that's why I'm back here, because she could be with her husband somewhere else. But
Amen.
she choose to come back to Natchez. And that is what we need now, because so many of our young people now are leaving Natchez because the reason they're saying there's nothing here to do. But I want to just say this to everyone sitting here and on this board, and also to the mayor. We are committed to making Natchez a better place to live. And we're committed to bringing you with fresh faith. And what we need now for Natchez is fresh ideas, not old ideas. We need new, innovative thinking people. So that's what I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, just have one more question.
Yes, Alderwoman Hall.
You mentioned the Natchez Adams School District. Are you going to be reaching out to the other school districts? as
Yes,
well?
ma'am.
Okay.
I hadn't had a chance to talk to them, but I did get a chance to talk to Natchez Adams School District first.
Thank you. So what we will continue working on these ideas. Nothing is being decided today, but I did want to just bring it to the board's attention that Ms. Robbie K. Furge has this idea, but that the discussions we've had, and we really spent almost 2 hours in discussions yesterday. And in addition to the meeting we had with Commissioner Maxwell earlier this week, in addition to the meeting we had yesterday morning with Neo, and a meeting I had with some other investors night before last, there's a lot of grant money out there. We've got to get aggressive in going after it. And a lot of this is far more work than just Mr. Johnston can do. And it's also far more work than one person, Tawana Williams, can do. We're going to have to look at bringing in some outside help. Now, whether it's going to be a LEAP program specialist or someone else, what I do like about Crystal Matthews is her references. The millions of dollars she's gotten for Baton Rouge General just this past year, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And what she has represented that she feels like she can do, and what Jessica Canning, who has worked with her at Baton Rouge General, says that she can do, is truly amazing. So expect more information and more discussion on that to come. Anything, and Pastor Robbie, I would love to see the city work with you on this project. Just how we do it is what we've got to determine.
Yes,
And with what funds and with what partners.
yes,
you
sir.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion on that subject? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderwoman Hall, you said you had reached out.
there was a question as to how far behind we were in the project. So I reached out to Mr. Johnston for that answer.
Okay. Mr. Johnston?
Is he still?
Well, we need to get the answer. Okay. I could get him here and.
Richard, can we come to the microphone so we can hear?
Yes, Alderwoman. Just a minute. Okay, me too. We're almost done.
Just, Mr. Burke, there was a question as to how far behind we are on the project, getting the
For the heater
cover
installation.
and the heater installed. Okay, sure.
Okay, Alderwoman, thank you.
Yes, I made a call to Mr. Johnson
Thank you.
on your behalf. He said that the initial wait on it was because we were working out the interlocal agreement, but once that was completed on September the 30th, that's when they could go ahead and start the work. So this delay has been basically since September 30th with some delay
Correct.
before due to the ILA.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? We don't have any other business on our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion made, seconded. Made by Alderman Davis, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Any discussion?
No.
We'll proceed to a vote. Any opposed to the motion? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Alderman, Alderwomen, we'll see you at our regular meeting a week from Tuesday.
It's a ribbon cutting.